So just make sure. Hello, people. Hope you're well. I'm just going to make sure that our family over on Instagram are here. And then we're just going to say hello to the ladies. Rochelle, Naomi, how are we?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Oh, oh,
what's
oh,
happening?
oh. Right. There you
Is it
go.
broken?
No, that
Houston,
was
we have a
that was
problem. Houston,
that
we
was
have a problem.
that was Instagram. That was Instagram saying hello. I'm here. How are we? I'm exhausted. Can I just say that?
And that's me. I
Yeah.
didn't sleep well last night. I feel
Mm,
like there's nothing in particularly wrong with me, so I feel like I'm just being a big baby. But I feel so
mm,
tired and just really drained of all energy.
mm. That's interesting, isn't it? And stuff. It's like I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, Naomi said she went for. Naomi
Victoria's like, yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to get the words out. This is
This
great.
bit, my brain feels like it's melting. I don't know if I've got anything intelligent to contribute to this conversation. On find words. It's just like all crazy.
Do you know what?
Can I maybe offer a little bit of something here, first
Yeah,
of all?
please.
Okay, so obviously we were just saying I've just been out for a coffee with somebody, and we were just talking. And the first thing I said to her was like, "How are you?" And she went, "Can I be honest?" And I was like, "Yes, please. Can we stop saying we're fine when we're not fine?"
Right.
So I love the fact that we're already here being honest and not all going, "Yeah, everything's fine." The second
Yeah.
thing is, like, we're women of a certain age.
Yes.
Okay, we have some serious fluctuations and changes in our hormones. We
Mm,
also obviously have the, light changing in the evenings, the darker evenings. Our circadian rhythm is naturally shifting and changing. This is when our ancestors would have been going into hibernation.
Oh,
We,
yeah.
however,
Yeah. Can I hibernate, please?
yeah, please do. Or just do your own form of wintering. And something I've learned to do is stop. When I say pushing, yes, there's still work that needs to be done. But sometimes I'll take my laptop on the sofa if I'm having a day where I feel a bit like this.
Where I am, I've got my blanket on, like a little
Fine.
lady.
We push so much, don't we? And sometimes we need to lean into how we're feeling energetically. So that's my words of wisdom.
yeah.
So wise I am.
And also, do you know what and stuff? It's like you said, it's okay. It's okay to sort of like not feel great. I mean, I'm just exhausted to the point where I've actually not done. So normally I would do pranic healing and just get done and stuff. And today I haven't. And I'm like, okay, you need to get some done because I know that will wake me up. But without it, I just want to sleep. I just want to. I just feel, but to be fair though, it has been a hectic few weeks. So I'm also having to remind myself that I've been out and about. I know you ladies are over at Big Festoon next weekend and stuff. So, and I'm with my pranic healing family this weekend, and I came back from Manchester. Like literally, I feel like between myself, the motorway, and events, there's a lot going on, and I think sometimes we forget how much we do as well.
Yeah.
As well as the energetic shift and all of that and stuff. And for somebody who lives on their own, I always think to myself, God, you should have more time because you're not a mum, you don't have children and everything else, which brings me very swiftly onto today's topic, which is about solo living. And Rochelle, I know that you don't live on your own, but it's also good to get it from somebody who doesn't live on their own perspective, because I've lived on my own since I was, I think, 18. And that's all I know. I've never really lived with somebody in that way. I think I lived with a boyfriend, but we were part of a uni pack. So it wasn't like we lived together, we just lived in the same house. But otherwise and stuff, it's like I just love living on my own. But also I'm very aware of the fact that I don't think I have any less time than someone who's got 5 kids, a husband, chores to do, and school runs to do, and everything else. Naomi, what do you think?
Yeah, do you know, I'm laughing because like some of my friends, they say this to me, and it just makes me want to like burst into laughter. Like, what do you watch on TV every evening? I don't watch TV. I don't have spare time. And I think people assume that when you live on your own, and I've lived on my own for 16 years, but before that also lived on my own. You know, I literally only had like 2 years where I lived with a partner, but have lived on my own most of my adult life too. And obviously, you know, I have a parent now who's needing a lot more support and care. So actually, I guess that's like become my sort of default responsibility. But I don't have like people think that I just sit every night and watch hours of TV. I don't. I probably watch TV once a month. But I also think like, and I was having this conversation with the friend that I met with for coffee with. She has always lived on her own, and we were saying, but you have all the responsibility. So, you know, you don't split the tasks, and you don't have somebody looking after like the car insurance and the you know, whatever it might be. You are doing all the tasks yourself all the time. I'm now managing like my dad's life admin, which is like having you know, it is like having a second person, but also a second person who doesn't have the cognitive function to be able to do those things themselves. So honestly, solo living, like, don't get me wrong, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But it is not an easy option. Before anybody thinks that being single and independent is the easy life, it has its own challenges.
No. Rochelle, what have you got to say?
So what's interesting, I was just trying to think whether I've actually ever lived on my own. And so when I was at uni, I was in, like you described, a student house. So I had friends there. That's probably the closest I've come to living on my own. But I actually hated that. I hate being on my own. I don't think I could cope living in a house on my own. And then I've also been a single parent. So I've been on my own, not in a relationship, but then having two little people taking up a lot of my time. So again, that's the closest I've come to being living on my own. But I remember being at uni and just not really having a understanding of time. It was just like because I'd got like, I was in uni probably like 3 times a week for a few hours, and I had work and things like that. But I did feel like I didn't appreciate how much time I had. And then once I did have children, and I think the biggest thing was I went from working full time, and if I had work to do, and I wouldn't work particularly late, but I'd just work until I finished that task. And that might be like 5:30, that might be 6:30. I'd just finish the task. Once I had my children and I had to be there to pick them up, like I had strict deadlines, and there was very little flexibility with that. So I couldn't finish those tasks anymore. I had to be like, right, I need to be at nursery for 5:30. I need to put all things down and go. And even now they're getting older and they're not as dependent on me, but I've still got to get them up in the morning, get them out of the house. So I can't I love it when people are like, oh, I do work it first thing in the morning. I'm like, I'd love to be able to do that. But I'm also glad that I am able to do the school run, because that was one of the things where I was like, I want my own business. I've got the flexibility to do the school run. I hate the school run, but at least I can do it. It's my choice. My choice to do the school run now, so I can't really complain about that. But it's those harsh deadlines and the holidays. So I really struggle when I just start to get some like consistency and some routine, and that lasts for 7 weeks, and then we've got a holiday and it's all thrown up in the air, and then get back to it and I start to get a bit of routine, and then it's all thrown back up in the air. So that's for me. If I was to not let, at a time when the children are even more grown up, so they're 9 and 11 now. So in 6, 7, 8 years, I won't have that responsibility anymore, and things will be very, very different. And I am not wishing my time away, but I will look forward to that, having more flexibility and less strict, rigid commitments. But saying that, I don't know whether that will work well for me, because I do work well with some sort of structure in my life. And I think if I was living solo and not having that structure, like I know this for you, Victoria, you don't seem to have it on off. It's like you wake up, you're working right up until you go to bed. You don't have a weekend because you've not got those time restrictions from other factors.
Yeah, do you know what though? It's okay. So Naomi hit the nail on the head, and it's funny because I think no matter what anybody's situation is, I feel as if they feel as if they're time poor, which is quite interesting. So I know that, Rochelle, you and Chris divide your responsibilities and stuff. So he does some stuff, you do some stuff. And what I say to friends when they say, "Oh my God, you're so lucky you live on your own," or if I lived on my own, I'd do X, Y, and Z. I am everything. I'm the cleaner. I am, and yes, my cleaner's coming today, but I still have to clean on the day she's not there. I have to put the laundry in. I have to cook. I have to it's almost like if I'm doing one thing, I can't do the other. So if I'm cooking, I can't work. If I'm going to get the groceries in, I'm not working. And that's why I'm always on. So people just assume that I'm always on. It's because there's nobody else to do anything in the house. So everything is my responsibility. And if I say have a relaxing day, which I do have, and I grant myself that permission to do, it just means that there's loads of stuff that doesn't get done. So I feel like I've always got a backlog of stuff, which irritates the hell out of me. But it's there because that's my reality. Like there's just a backlog of stuff. So I was talking to Helen the other day and I was like, I'm going to get this to you. I will get this to you. And I'm definitely going to get it to you. And all I've done is keep on sending her emails going, I'm really sorry I haven't got it to you and stuff because I just have not had the time to do it and stuff. And I hate being late for stuff. So it's just but it's because there's, even just making sure that the cleaner comes in and does what they need to do. And so last night I was cooking at about 10 o'clock at night, just so that I didn't have to cook today. There's always stuff. So even though you're on your own, you still have the responsibility of a household and a business or a job, if that's where your time is spent. So I have a question. What do we think? What's the thing that we think society has got wrong about us women that live on our own?
Oh, let's open that can of worms. Do you know what? As you were saying that, Victoria, and is this society? Is this modern day living? If we look back to the generation before us, if we look back to our parents, they weren't juggling 3 email accounts, 5 social media accounts. The shops closed at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. They also didn't have an expectation that, I remember, I still have this vision now. My parents were incredibly hardworking, working class. My dad was a sales rep. He had an office built into our house. And at 5 o'clock, whether he was out working or at home, that office door got closed. We had an answer machine in the 90s. It clicked on, and from Friday at 5 p.m. until Monday morning at 9 a.m., he didn't take a call. It went to a voicemail, and he then responded to those people the next week. We are on all the time. I have, I don't know about any of you, but I have 3 email accounts. And one of those email accounts is lots of things coming through that I'm managing for my dad, that I'm responding to. 5 social media accounts, clients, prospective clients. Life has shifted and changed, but we have no more hours in a day.
Yeah, that's a really good take on it. That's a really good take. Rochelle, what do you say?
Yeah, well, I was thinking this when we were talking about me not feeling well and us being harsh on ourselves as business owners in general. It's very difficult because we're ill, we need to rest, we've had a busy time, we need to take some time for ourselves, self-care. But on the other side of things, we're going, well, if we don't work. We're the ones that are bringing in all the money, and if we're not bringing in money, we're not paying the bills. And while I've not got the solo responsibility, I've talked before about how I employ my mum, I employ my sister. Chris, my partner, he's got a separate business, but the majority of the work that he does is for my company. If I am not bringing in the money, then those people are not getting paid, and my whole family comes collapsing down. So, in a similar way to you guys, that yes, you're single, but you've still got the responsibility of keeping a roof over your head and making sure that those bills are getting paid, and we do need that time to be able to rest, but we need to put in place things that bring in money even when we're not working. And that's what I'm working hard on now for next year, going right, what things can I put in place to make sure that recurring income is coming in, so that when I am feeling like this, I can go, I am having time out of my business, I'm just going to rest, because I know that money is coming in regardless of whether I'm working hard or having a nap.
Yeah, it's all valid points. I mean, you know, it takes me into that whole place of when there's silence in the business, which, to be fair, it happens all the time. You know, how does that affect one? And I think these days, to Naomi's point, society has changed. So it's not that whole thing where the man is expected to go out and earn or have the predominant job. The woman is gradually becoming the breadwinner in a lot of cases. And I think my question is, you know, when there's silence in the business or silence in your job, how does that affect you? Because I know, like Rochelle and stuff, it's like, you know, continuous looking at the recurring revenue side of things, but it's, for me, it's me. And like Rochelle, like Naomi, I look after my mum, you know, and stuff, you know, thank God she turns 80 tomorrow. Can't believe it. But, you know, but she's very much with it. She still works for her. No, not tomorrow, Friday. But, you know, she still has her business. She's very good. But I help contribute towards her expenditure. Is the African way of doing it. So, you know, you contribute as a family and you pay towards their livelihood and their well-being and everything else. And if there's nothing coming in, I can't contribute. So I'm very, and on top of the bills as well, there's nobody there to come and say, I tell you what, I'll hold the fort this month. You just focus on bringing in. There isn't any of that. So I have sometimes to have really difficult conversations if I can't meet those bills, or, you know, or if I'm going to be sort of like late a couple of days, a couple of weeks. And so, like, it's, your brain is always going, in my opinion. Now, it's funny because I always think to people, I go, oh God, you know, at least you've got a partner that can help you with that stuff. But if that's not the case, then it must be equally as trying. Naomi, what's your point to that?
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. And the coffee that I had this morning with a friend, this was literally what she said in the conversation.
God. Yeah.
She's not been feeling great, actually quite low and with depression, and said, like, I've got to get out of bed. I've got to do the work, even when I'm feeling like this, because there isn't somebody else. And, you know, whilst I'm in a great place physically, mentally, emotionally, in 2019, I wasn't. I had a nervous breakdown. And it was that thing of, it's me. It's all on me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's so great that we're talking about this, because I think so often we see people's lives, you know, on Instagram, on whatever. And so many people have said it to me. Oh my God, you know, it's so, God, you're so lucky to be able to go out for a walk first thing in the morning. You're so lucky to be able to do X, Y, Z. It's not luck. It's been my choice. And we all have different challenges. And like you said, you know, yes, obviously, as a mum, as a partner, you've got the challenge of, you know, providing for family. But actually, equally, when you're on your own, and like Victoria said there, you know, I have responsibilities, some of them financial with my dad, some of them, you know, emotionally and practically and physically. It's a juggling act. There's no doubt about that. It's an absolute juggling act. And also, I think, even sometimes that, like, you know, right now, going through everything I'm going through with my dad, I have a sibling, but not one that I can talk to, share with, or anything at all. So all this, you know, going through dementia and Alzheimer's with my dad, I'm dealing with all the emotional side of that. Yes, I'm very honest. I speak about it openly. Why do I do that? Because I don't want anybody to feel alone at this stage of life, because it can feel, I don't feel lonely. I don't feel alone because I have what I need to manage and cope and deal with all of this. But we all have our own, baggage, luggage, responsibilities. They're just different. Just different. That is the truth of it.
I think that's sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is the thing. It's the choice. Like, I've chosen. I wanted very much to have a family. Like I said, I don't particularly enjoy being on my own, so I like having other people in the house. Even I remember previously when I had before I had kids, we had a dog, and just having the dog in the house. And when the dog passed away, that it felt really strange having this empty house. And I didn't like that feeling. I really do like having like another presence with me. But that's been my choice. And I think whichever you choose is always going to be hard. There's no right option, is there? There's nothing that's going to be like, right, if I stay by myself, everything's going to be easy, or if I find a husband and have kids, that's going to be easier. Like, there's no right path. We've just got to do what feels right for us.
Yeah.
Are you looking at my notes or something, or are you in my brain? Because the next question was going to be is solo living a choice or circumstance? I know for me, I think it just has always been, and I find I tell you what, I find it really irritating when I walk through the front door and somebody else comes in afterwards. I don't like it. I like that when I walk into my house, there's nobody there. I love that. And especially as an African woman, other Africans look at me like I'm really weird. Like there must be something seriously wrong with me. You know, like I'm sure somebody's thinking of a prayer to pray over me to say, you know what, we need to just get you out of that stance because it's not normal. It's true though, because like equally, my brother-in-law and my sister have an open house. So it's like, at any point, there's already 6 of them in the house. At any point, there'd be 20 people hanging around that house. And whilst it's great in the evening when you sit there and you're munching on something and having great conversations, there are times when I'm like, get out of my house. Like, all I want to say is get out of my house. So I love living on my own. But it has been circumstance, and part of me believes that I probably manifested it in a certain way because I don't like having people. It just irritates me. Like, you know, when you have these women who say my husband's breathing and stuff, like just his breathing, you know, and people go, ha ha ha. I'm like, no, I get it, because like somebody's breathing could irritate me. Like, I just like peace and quiet, like, you know. And I'm very aware of how fortunate I am that I can get up when I want, go to bed when I want. Like, I don't have to consider anything. I do believe, and I hate to admit it, and I don't necessarily think I see signs of it, but I do believe that it's made me incredibly selfish as well, because I just like things my own way. But I'm unapologetically so, and at 52, I embrace it and say it's my right. Naomi, what do you think?
I'm laughing my socks off because you have to make an appointment to come to my home.
See, the appointment, and when are you leaving? My mom says it's rude, but I want to know when you're coming and when you're leaving.
Like, there's a slot and you can come in that slot. I have changed so much over the years because when I first left home, I shared a house with 5 other girls. I say girls, we were in our 20 up to 40. I shared a house, 1 bathroom, 5 women. So that was kind of like in my 20s, then just shared a house with 1 other girl, then bought my own property at 26, 27, lived on my own, but actually took a lodger in to help me with my mortgage, took a lodger in when I walked out of my corporate career 9 years ago. So I've had like scenarios where I've had my own place, but, you know, had lodgers or whatever. And then just trying to think how many years ago it was, 7, 8 years ago, I was like, I don't want lodgers anymore. I don't, because I was like, I want to like cook in the kitchen when I want to cook in the kitchen. I don't want to be doing that, like, and I don't want to eat the same meals as my as a lodger or whatever. So I made that decision. I think it was about 8 years ago. I was like, no, not having lodgers anymore. I want my own place. And I don't say it's made me selfish. And I think maybe, I don't know, you may reflect on this, Victoria, is that I just know what I bloody like now. And I know what, and I also have boundaries.
Yes.
And I never used to have boundaries. So friends would come over crying on my, doormat, and I'd be like, come on in and let's stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning talking about all your problems. And then you can leave and I'll just be absolutely drained and my whole property will feel like negative energy. I'm really, really specific now. And actually, I very rarely have friends around to my home. I meet them out. I never allowed my dad to have a key here. I don't want my dad popping in, dropping by. I go to his or we meet out. This is my haven. This is my home, my space. It's where I regulate and I choose the energy that comes in here very, very wisely. So if you want to call that selfish, you can call that selfish, but I don't. I call it that I just call it that I'm very aware of my space.
You know what's right for you.
Yeah, you know what you want. And then we've got Rochelle, who's got kids coming in and out of a house, who go to school, bringing all sorts of energy. Poor Chris, who goes to every building around that Rochelle has assigned to him and picks up that energy and stuff. Hi, Rochelle.
Do you go round with sage, Rochelle? Do you say?
I actually don't. I probably should, but I'm like, so I am such a homebody. I actually, especially in winter, I say this. I love traveling. I love going away. I love being on holiday. But I think, especially in the winter, I hate leaving my house. And if I can just stay here 100% of the time, but I am also very much a family person. So most Sundays I will have my family around. So I've got 6 siblings. There's then 7 kids, my kids, nieces and nephews. So it can be sometimes there's 22 people in my house, and I'm cooking for them all. What I realised the other day, I was in Danny Wallace's she shed, and we realised like we've got this one we're very similar in this way. I hate going to someone else's house and just sitting there and like I can have a nice time and have conversations, but I get restless. Whereas when I'm at home and I'm cooking for everyone, I don't have to have awkward conversations. I don't have to be I can just be in the kitchen cooking for everyone. Everyone else is enjoying themselves and I'm giving them a nice meal. My mum's quite similar in that. So she used to be like the person whose house we always went to until we got too many kids and it started filling up her house too much. And she sort of handed it over to me. But my mum just used to let people stay until they leave. So if we ever go around now, it's like she doesn't kick us out and it'll be like 9, 9:30. And she wants us to leave, but she's not got those strong boundaries of saying, just get out of my house. Whereas I have learned that if I don't tell them to leave, they will not leave. And my kids need to start getting ready for bed at 8. So we start saying, right, it's last cup of tea, then you're leaving. And I'm quite sure
with pajamas on,
pushing them out of the house.
There's few people's homes I'll go to, and I normally connect with the person before I go to their home. There's very few homes that I connect to. Like Rochelle, you've got a beautiful home, and it's very warm and welcoming and what have you and stuff. And it is very much a family home. Like they literally walk in and walk out and walk in and turn around and swirl and go back out.
Well, yeah, when you came to see me, my sister turned up, then my mum turned up, and that was just in the space of like an hour or so, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. We all sat there and had fish and chips. It was cool. It was really nice. So the next question is, what's the emotional cost of living on your own? Naomi.
Well, I think I'm going to come at this from 2 different angles, because I'm 50 now, and I would say it's only the last 5 to 6 years that I have loved and embraced living on my own.
Okay.
I used to hate living. Like, I was always like looking to get a boyfriend, looking to be with a partner,
Oh, wow, okay.
having friends over at weekends. You know, my social calendar was full because I didn't like being on my own.
Mm.
And so one thing I've done in the last 5, 6 years is got really comfortable and kind of enjoyed my own time, whether that's doing things, whether it is having that spare, you know, not spare time, but permission to give myself that time to relax and rest and everything else. So what's the cost? It's a tough one because I guess, like I said, there's trade-offs in everything. And I think of trade-offs rather than like, you know, sacrifices.
Yeah.
I hate thinking about like, you know, what do I sacrifice? But you know, if we're gonna say something here, something that really pisses me off and really, really, really gets me.
You go, Naomi.
I am gonna say, and Rochelle's gonna, like, as a property developer, Rochelle, you're gonna be like, yeah, okay, I get that. Why do I only get 25% discount on my council tax
That part.
when friends that have 3 children, 4 children, who use far more public services than I do, pay one set? They don't have extra council tax depending on how many children they have. Why do I only get 25% discount when I hardly use public services at all? Anyway, there's my rant. I think I should get 50. I think people that live on their own should get 50% discount because I mean, you know, we're definitely using half of that. So, and, you know, single person occupancy in a hotel. This used to, look, I'm just going to have my 5-minute rant. It won't be 5 minutes.
Go for it.
Friends used to invite me to weddings, to parties. Oh, here's the link for the hotel. Single person occupancy. It's an absolute joke. You get like 20 quid off the room and you're on your own, but you've got to travel on your own. You've got to buy the presents for the wedding on your own. So I think that, you know, here we go. What's the cost? There's me saying there isn't one. I think there bloody is.
Single person tax.
What?
Single person tax.
I think
is that
tax.
It is that. And so it's literally, it goes back to like when I used to go out drinking, you'd get that thing where couples would buy one round and then you'd buy a round. So I just started staying on my own because I was like, I'll just stay on my own. And that way I'm not looking at you with daggers throughout the whole night and stuff thinking, how dare you? And then the hotel, funnily enough, I was looking at a hotel last night because I'm going away over the weekend and I had a choice. It's only like an hour's drive, but I was like, do you know what? If I could find a decent price hotel, why not stay over? And then it just saves you that time. I looked at the price now and it's okay, I'll drive. Because I'm just like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's like it's continuous. And I think as a single person or living solo, you tend to find a way to navigate it. So I'm always arguing with the electricity people, the water people, the tax, the council tax people. I'm always saying to them, remember, I live on my own. Remember, I live on my own. This is my income. Remember, I live on my own. And sometimes they'll move the money around, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm always saying to them that I live on my own. So what you're saying is an expenditure is not possible because I live on my own. And there'll be times when they'll say, well, okay, so what do you do? I'm like, the only thing that's on continuously is my computer and sometimes my lights. I said, but otherwise, everything else is off. So you can't tell me that I use that much because the only way I'd be able to use that much is if there'd be somebody else using electricity and water and everything else elsewhere. So when I do have time, which isn't often, but sometimes I do get a bee in my bonnet and I call them and I go, you need to review those prices, and they will review it. But it's time. It's that cost of when I'm chasing them to review it. It means there's other stuff that I'm not doing, if that makes sense. Meanwhile, they should just ask the initial question, which is, do you live on your own or not? Right, okay, then this is how we bring it down. And for the council tax, that's a whole different story. I'm always arguing with them about that because it is astounding. It really is. But equally, when you've got kids in a household, I guess, where do they get the money from? Does that make sense and stuff? But then there's adults as well. But I think adults just get one bill as opposed to, oh, there's 2 adults there, if that makes sense, and what have you. Rochelle, what do you think?
Yeah, so I was thinking about what you were saying, Naomi, about like one person going to an event, and I actually often leave Chris at home because it's just easier, and it can work out cheaper. Because if we're going to something like Expert Empires, and I've got to buy a ticket for me and a ticket for Chris, or at the moment I've got tickets anyway, but having to then pay for his train fare, having to sort out somebody else to look after the kids, it's just easier to go, Chris, you just stay at home with the kids and I'll go away and have fun. Anyway, it got me thinking as well about, so when we went to Thailand a couple of summers ago, and we went for the 6 weeks, and we spent 10 grand to be, and that included flights, accommodation, all our food, to be away for 6 weeks. But the flights for the 4 of us to go were 5 grand, whereas when I went to Thailand previously on my own before kids, the flights weren't a dissimilar price. I was just only paying for one person, so it made it a lot. It meant that going to Thailand for 2 months was a lot cheaper. It just being me, because I'm just paying for my flight, I'm just buying my own food, so everything was like a quarter of the price of what we paid as a family. So, well, I can see your frustrations on a lot of it, like having to pay for the gift by yourself and getting into rounds and things like that. But at the same time, you're like, actually, you've got this freedom where you can do things a lot cheaper because you are only thinking about one person. But then at the same time, you've only got that one income coming in, so it's all just like a balance, isn't it? And I was thinking about my mum, because she was a single parent to us from being about 8, and she's got my little sister now who's 13, but she's pretty much always been on her own. And I think now she's got to the stage where she has been on her own so long that even though I think she would like a relationship, I don't think she knows like how she would welcome someone else into her home now, because she's used to that freedom.
I think I'd have to insist on separate homes now. End of story. I'm not sure I could ever share my space again.
You know what? One of my best friends was like that. She said she could never share a bed with somebody, and then she met the right person, and she always thought she'd have a relationship where it'd be like we'd see each other 2 or 3 times a week on a date, and that's it. And then before she knew it, 3 months and he was moving in, and then now they're married, and I think it was just like that right person for her, and it was a big shift.
I can't see it. I just can't. I can't see it. I can't. Flaming. It's got to be Jesus coming down for this to happen. I just can't see it. Like, no. I think it's lovely about your friend, Rochelle, but I can't see it. I was going to ask about the emotional cost, so we'll just segue in as we wrap up. But nah. Like I remember dating someone once, and I remember sort of like laying there in the bed, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to sleep. I'm literally not going to. There's a human being next to me. I'm not going to sleep. Like, I want to sleep. Like, I can't. Like, there's somebody breathing next to me. There's nothing romantic about a human being lying next to you. I don't get it. No.
So, like, me and Chris do share a bed, but I think as the world evolves, a lot of people are realizing actually we don't want to share a bed, but we do want to be in a relationship with someone and be close to them, and you can have separate rooms or even separate houses and still have and coexist together and have that relationship. Although, Victoria, I don't know why I can't imagine you having when you say, oh, I dated someone once, I'm like, what? You dated someone?
No, because I'm just
what year was that?
yeah, I know. But to Naomi's point though, does anybody remember Friends, where Ross comes in one day with this blue hat, and Rachel says, just lift it up a bit, and then put it down? That's what I'd be like with anybody that I think I met now. I'd be like, move out, just stand outside the door, keep going. That's the right distance, stay there. And so, because listen, it could happen, and this thing called love is a crazy thing, so who knows. But I don't like people walking around my house talking. I don't I just don't. I like the fact that I'm in my house and there's activity. And talking about the emotional cost, I think it goes both ways. I think there've been times when I've had down moments in my home, but I've dealt with it, and I believe I've come out of it better because I've dealt with it and I've not projected it onto somebody else, and I've not expected somebody else to deal with it, which I really credit myself for. But equally, 99.99% of the time, I'm just really happy and very content. You know, I move around my home and I know that this is mine. And as somebody who didn't have a home for a while, or almost didn't have a home, and was forced to share when like I moved into somewhere to share because I was going to buy a home, and then I ended up staying there longer. So I felt as if I was sort of like forced to share. I'm so grateful for my home, and every single moment when I open my front door, I'm very aware of how blessed I am that I have my own space. And if I want to go and find space with other people in it, I can go out there and go and look for that. Just go to Rochelle's house.
I feel like I might need Rochelle's address.
Yeah, from there and stuff. Yeah, it's a great home.
You all.
Yeah,
It's interesting though, because growing up, I grew up in a very, when I say open house, like you were saying there, Rochelle, I grew up in a very open house. My parents were actually guardians. I went to an all-girls school. It was a boarding school, but I was a day pupil. But my parents were guardians. So our school holidays was constantly sharing bedrooms with, you know, a Chinese student, a German student, you know, who couldn't go home to their parents for whatever reasons. And our home was always an open door policy. I wonder if, you know, there's a part of me that I don't know. And like I said, it's this last 5 years. And, you know, you were saying there about emotional cost, Victoria. And I very much used to feel the emotional cost, like feeling lonely, a bit like the Bridget Jones at the weekends. Oh, why am I on my own? Now, couldn't be more like, I want to be on my own. I mean, sometimes when my buzzer goes, I have to look at the video screen really quietly because I'm like, who is it? If it's Amazon, I'll buzz them. If it's a friend that just rocked up, like popping by. No, sirree. We're not home.
Most of my friends don't have my address. I think the only people that have my address are people who I buy from, which is hilarious. But funny that you should talk about parents. See, our home in Cameroon, our family home in Cameroon, is very much an open home. And see, as soon as you said it, I went, oh my God, I've never thought of it like that. So our house is a 9-bedroom, probably more house. It's massive. And there's always people staying there, related, not related, half related. Like there's always people in the house. And again, my dad would look after his siblings' children and sponsor them at school. Sometimes they'd come and stay with us and what have you. So we've always, the house, but there's always people talking. So I'll wake up in the morning and it's never me waking up because I'm ready to wake up, which is what I'm used to because I don't use alarm clocks. It's normally because somebody's speaking and that voice has woken me up, which is the worst thing you can do for me. So I don't like houses where there's all that noise and stuff. And when I say to my mom, oh, when I come home, I'll just stay in a hotel, my mom takes huge offense to it. And I'm like, people just come to your house. People ring the bell at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, no.
Do you know what's really interesting for me? I'm thinking, obviously, Naomi, you've just said you've just turned 50, and you're a similar age, aren't you, Victoria? Like I'm about to turn 37. So in 13 years, when I'm turning 50, my children. I'll be like you two. Hopefully, I'll still have Chris with me, but I probably will be like, I'll be like, right, I've had enough of children now. I'm locking my doors. So my plan is that I want to just go traveling around the world, and I want to have that freedom. But I actually do. I really fancy like having like a little like kitchen on the beach with some little huts that people can come and stay in, and I cook people breakfast and like that. That's what I'd like. So I think I'd still want people around me, and I think that's something that I'll always want. But there are definitely times where I just need some time on my own.
Yeah. See, my dream is to travel around the world, healing people, cooking for people, but also I have a vision of a home goodness knows where this home is, but I can visualize it very clearly, where people come and eat and leave. They're always leaving.
See, I wonder, this is the thing that I've always wondered, and I've said this to Chris before, because he didn't have children until he met me, and he's been in our life now for nearly 5 years. So, and he's just turned 40. So for 35 years of his life, 15 years being an adult, he didn't have children yet. He stayed in England. He stayed working. And to me, if I didn't have children, I wouldn't be here. I'd be somewhere else. So I think that for me, if there's any confusion with what you two are doing, I'm like, but why aren't you somewhere else with that house, with that kitchen, cooking for people? Why are you in England? Why aren't you sat on a beach somewhere working from your laptop? Because that's what I'd be doing if I was.
But remember as well, so again, the one thing, and I don't want to answer for Naomi, but we have parents that depend on us very heavily, and being on a beach doesn't always lend to that. Even though my mom lives in Cameroon, at least I'm still on the same time zone as her. So it's and it also depends on how you're brought up, and also, you know, and also what your values are and everything else. It's like, for me, I know that I can get on a flight now, and I'll be in Cameroon in about 7 hours time and stuff. I'll be home for dinner, you know what I mean, and stuff. And I know that I can make a difference and stuff. So it's a lot bigger than just going somewhere. But also, it's not as simple as that. It's like the people that are on a beach. I know a lot of people that have that lifestyle. I promise you, their lives aren't any happier.
Yeah.
And they actually, I have a friend who actually worked with Zuckerberg, and he's very wealthy, and he doesn't have to look after the parents thing and stuff. Like, he has a beautiful house in Florida and stuff. Like, he's not Florida, in California. And he can do whatever he wants, and he travels around the world and he does it. And I promise you, he has his moments, and he always ends up coming back home, because it's not as glamorous as what people think. Yes, does he make a difference in the world? 100%. But I've seen people choose that lifestyle, and it doesn't bring you. It's great for a while, and it's great for social media, but when it comes back to it and stuff, it's like, you know, the home is where the heart is, and you want to create something that is home and permanent and everything else. And that's why my friend has a glorious home in LA that he comes back to. But equally, he also has an open house where he'll just be like, come and stay, let's hang out, let's cook, and what have you. He actually, his idea is that you come and stay at his house and you cook for him. He loves that. He you know, but again, it's just a different way. But the whole travel thing, as much as I love traveling, people always come back home. People always come. I know John DiMartini used to live on boats for a long time, and even that didn't bring him immense happiness and stuff. Eventually he was like, you know what? It's time to just find somewhere to just stop and be. Ladies, thank you so much. I think the final bit of that is, whether you're living on your own or not, it's not that simple. And you know, I don't think it's one that's better. Like Naomi says, it's just different. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, ladies. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.